TripAdvisor is going to tell you that the #1 place that you should visit when you come to New Orleans is the World War II Museum. It can't be the #1 thing. That can't be real.
It is real.
That's a real thing?
I will show it to you.
You didn't just make that up?
I didn't make it up. I'm not lying. This is why we're making this video.
I'm DJ Johnson. I'm the owner of Baldwin Co Coffee and Bookstore, and I am a local New Orleans expert. And today, we are going to challenge what the internet says you should do in my city versus what I, as the local expert, say you should do. Come along with us and let's explore the city. Day one, you have to have a beignet when you come to New Orleans. The internet says Café du Monde, but if you really want the best flaky, buttery, authentic beignet, you have to come to Loretta's. This trumps any beignet I've ever had, and I've been eating beignets since I was a toddler. I love Café du Monde, no shade, but this is a completely different experience. This here is the world's famous crab stuffed beignet. It's absolutely delicious. Lump crab meat and a Creole sauce stuffed inside of a beignet. Loretta's is the first place to ever stuff beignets with anything. When you look at this and you look at the flakiness and the buttery inside of this, when you open up a beignet from Café du Monde, you don't get that. It's just dense, it's just doughy. Still delicious, it's just a different experience. This one right here, you can see the butter, how layered it is. And it's just a testament to how amazing they do here. Well, I gotta start off with the savory. So this sauce is the remoulade sauce that you also put on top, that it just adds an extra layer of excellence to these beignets. There's so much lump crab that it falls out of the beignet. They're not shy with the lump crab meat. Delicious. Next is the praline one. You can see the thickness of the praline just oozing out of the beignets. Loretta is the first Black person to ever own a praline shop in New Orleans. It was the enslaved Blacks who created this amazing staple item in New Orleans, and we've never really been able to capitalize off it. We've never been able to really get our just due and our just credit for it. So for Loretta in 1983 to open up Loretta's Praline, it was iconic. A testament to our strength, our resilience, our creativity, and just an amazing palette for delicious cuisine. This is it. This is it right here. New Orleans is the birthplace of jazz. So when you listen to hip hop, you listen to R&B, you listen to country, you listen to blues, everything that you're listening to in terms of music is an offset of jazz. So when you come to New Orleans, you have to see a live music show. Reddit says that we should visit Preservation Hall. I like Preservation Hall, but if you really want to get your feet moving, then you have to visit Le Bon Temps Roulé on Magazine Street. It's where some of our greatest musicians like Kermit Ruffin, Soul Rebels have all come and paid their dues before they went on to reach the stardom of being the great musicians that they are today. It is a stark contrast to Preservation Hall. Preservation Hall, while you're gonna hear some of our greatest jazz musicians, it is a sit-down, very calm, traditional jazz spot. Le Bon Temps Roulé is the everything opposite of that. It is buck, jumping, brass, music, heart pumping, feet moving, screaming, shouting. It is that, it wrapped up in just pure energy around the sounds of trumpets, drums. When you're coming to New Orleans, another cuisine that you have to absolutely have is a po' boy. Let's take a look and see what does the internet suggest on where to go to find a great po' boy in New Orleans. According to Yelp and Reddit, it says that you should go to Parkway Tavern. While Parkway is delicious, if you want to eat like a local, then I wouldn't recommend necessarily going to a restaurant. See, growing up, we never actually went to restaurants to actually get a po' boy. The best authentic New Orleans experience is at a corner store. And my favorite corner store to go get a po' boy is Verdimart. They got everything that they would have at a CVS, a Walmart, and Canal Villeray all in one. And then you walk a little bit to the back, and then that's where you find the sandwiches. But it's not just any sandwich, it's not a snack. It is so fulfilling that you're probably only going to be able to get half of it down. The history of the po' boy is invented by the Martin brothers. And when the strikers used to walk into the restaurants and ask for sandwiches, they would always yell, "Oh, here come one of those po' boys." And that was a symbol to get the strikers a sandwich, but it was a sandwich made of just like fried potatoes, lettuce, tomatoes, whole bunch of toppings on this sandwich, and that's how we got the po' boy. My favorite order is the shrimp and oyster on French, fully dressed, extra ketchup, the sandwich of champions. Look at the size of the shrimp that they put on these. Nice jumbo shrimp, perfectly fried. This is exactly what you're looking for when you come to New Orleans. Mardi Gras is a weeks-long celebration of food, music, parades, bands, festivities, and it's all to celebrate the indulgence that you are supposed to engage in before Lent. So let's see what the internet says or where you should go to enjoy the flavors and fun and history of Mardi Gras 24/7, 365 days of the year. The internet says that you should go to Mardi Gras World. However, as your local expert, I'm going to take you to a much better place. I'm going to take you to Backstreet Cultural Museum. Mardi Gras World is all about the props. Backstreet Cultural Museum is all about the people. Let me show you some of the most photographed parts of Mardi Gras, and that is the Mardi Gras Indians. The craftsmanship that goes into it is so detailed.
Yes. All of the suits are hand beaded, and we refer to them as suits, not costumes, because these are true artists. They have to actually draw it out, bead through it, regular needle and thread, and sometimes dental floss because it doesn't dry rot as fast as regular thread does. So they take 365 days of the year, hand beading this, and it starts with what we call a patch. And a patch can be done from cardboard or canvas. A lot of people come thinking it's just all about the show and tell and the colors in the suit. But the significance behind this is that they're paying homage to our ancestors.
To the indigenous tribes that helped enslaved blacks during the days of slavery. The millions of people that are coming to New Orleans are paying homage to black culture. So whenever people come to New Orleans, everyone wants the authentic New Orleans cuisine. So let's see where the internet says we should go. Yelp says zesty Creole, and TripAdvisor says old NoLa cookery. I'm gonna tell you where the locals eat, because I gotta be honest with you, I'm not sure how either one of those places made the list. The best restaurant to visit for authentic New Orleans cuisine is Neo's in Mid-City. It is absolutely delicious, mouth-watering, char-grilled oysters. This is the one place where you can go to where you're gonna feel like you're sitting in grandmother's kitchen. Yes. You see the sizzling butter, that's the buttery sauce that this is grilled with over an open flame, and they just pour it on top as it's being grilled with garlic, herbs, and Parmesan cheese that is just baked into each oyster. You never go wrong with more butter.
It's not what the doctor says.
He not from New Orleans. Take a piece of the classic New Orleans French bread, take your fork, you wanna soak up the oyster, the butter sauce, the garlic, the cheese. You wanna just indulge all of it in one delicious bite.
The purple sauté.
Breaded pork chops and red beans and rice.
Potato salad.
The traditional New Orleans Creole cuisine is that perfect blend of cuisines and spices taken from African descent, French, Spanish, and Creole. This is blue crab claws. And it's absolutely delicious. All the flavors packed inside of this little bitty piece of meat on this crab claw. You want to make sure you try to get all the meat off it. And we're in luck because today is Monday, and Monday is the day that everyone eats red beans and rice in New Orleans. I remember my grandmother, my mom, they would always make red beans on Mondays, and it was more so known as the stretch dish because you don't feel like cooking Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna make this meal for Monday, and that gives you a little bit of relief because you know that no one cooks red beans in a small pot. So you got red beans for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesdays. This is probably the most staple dish to New Orleans. Well, there's museums all over New Orleans that you can soak up this culture. So let's see what the internet says on where you should go, which museum that you should visit when you come to New Orleans. Wow. According to TripAdvisor, the #1 thing you should do when you come to New Orleans is visit the World War II Museum. However, as your local expert, I'm going to give you a much better experience and place to go. You see, New Orleans is a living museum throughout the entire area of the Treme. And particularly within the Treme, I recommend the New Orleans African American Museum.
Hello.
Hey, my dear. So good to see you again.
You as well. Historic Treme is actually a really small neighborhood. It's about 6 square blocks, but there's so much history here, but a lot of that history is unmarked. So unless you know someone or you know an institution that can take you to those key places, you might miss really important parts of New Orleans history. On the back of our property, we have a masonry structure that was the home of Marie Laveau. So the infamous voodoo queen lived right here in Treme with her daughters. Not in the French Quarter.
Not in the French Quarter.
In Treme.
Here.
Just right across the street is the Petite Jazz Museum that was founded by Mr. Al Jackson. He does a phenomenal job of telling the history of jazz. We're in Armstrong Park and we're headed towards Congo Square. This is an important center point for us in that it really does parallel the French Quarter. This was a gathering place for people of African descent. So on Sundays, they could sell things, they could exchange things, they could even find relatives or try to connect with relatives. So this was a really important cultural hub for us. And of course, you know, there was always drumming and dance and exchange of food and culture.
This is what a lot of people get wrong about the city of New Orleans. They think the history of New Orleans is rooted inside of the French Quarters. But a lot of the history is rooted and begins right here in the Treme area of New Orleans. So everyone knows that New Orleans is well known for its bar culture. So let's see what the internet says we should go for a drink. So according to Yelp, it says that the best place is Carousel Bar. Wouldn't be the place that I would select. As your local expert, I would take you to one of the best hidden secrets of our bar culture here in New Orleans. It is a nerd chic, sexy environment that as soon as you walk in, you feel like you're in the essence of the Harlem Renaissance. So I've taken you to some of my favorite spots: food, music, museums, beignets. Let me know what you think about my suggestions when you visit New Orleans.